The Mandalorian Season 3 finale was certainly that. Final. As in, finally it's over. Which in itself is something to cheer for because how do you wrap up a season that is such a mess? Well, one way is to give it a quick rush job. And as we all know, with a quick rush job, there's going to be a lot of chafing and stains. This is a season filled with plot holes and conveniences. A season that had more cameos than character development. Din Djarin hasn't grown or wanted anything since episode 2. Bo-Katan, who was given the Darksaber like she was claiming it from the Lost and Found, hasn't either. And Baby Yoda did absolutely nothing but annoy us with his sheer presence alone. So when the finale premiered, I thought it would have been cool if they bait and switched episode 8 for another classic Disney scene and just left it at that. But instead of showing us mercy, they gave us a full 30 minutes of episode 8. We left off with Din being captured and the Mandalorians tactically retreating. Axe Wolves left the fight to warn the Mandalorian fleet by jetpacking himself all the way up into space. Now you might be thinking to yourself, didn't they establish that there's a very limited power supply to these jetpacks?
That is correct.
This is so stupid. Follow your own rules. How hard is this? Don't get me all invested in these things just to later on go, never mind, that didn't really matter anyways. What kind of writing is this? This is the kind of writing you can only find in Tijuana. So we can only assume either one of two things are correct. These jetpacks quickly burn fuel, or, like I said before, the Mandalorian wanted that little boy to die back in episode 4 when a giant dragon took him and they followed it for like 2 seconds. And let's be honest, them secretly hoping that that kid was going to be dragon food was probably the case. Nobody loves you, kid. We catch up with Mando, who's captured by a couple of extras. And when they aren't looking, he cuts himself free to kick their ass. They get the upper hand, and just before he's about to lose, our expectations are wildly subverted. It's not Bo-Katan that saves him, it's Mobile Krang Suit Grogu.
What?
Question. Wasn't he trapped with all those other Mandalorian inside the blast doors?
Yes.
So if I'm getting this straight, the Force Booger just happened to find his way around those blast doors without the other Mandalorians noticing? Actually, come to think of it, not one Mandalorian seemed to notice or care that Grogu was missing at all. The Mandalorian aren't really that concerned about what happens to their children. So Baby Yoda saves Mando from being recaptured or killed or I don't know. It's never really explained what they want Mando for. But off both of them go to hunt down Moff Gideon. He's in his evil lair watching them through some tracking devices. Why is that important to show us? It isn't. It's not like he's actively trying to stop them. He's just watching a red and green dot walk around his hallways like he's playing Pac-Man. You see, you know it's Mando and Grogu because Grogu's a green dot. Get it? Because Grogu's green? This is very complicated stuff. So while Moff is sitting there waiting for our heroes to confront him like some final boss in a video game, Mando's got to fight through Moff's guards like they are stage bosses, all behind their individual shield walls. And the fight plays out just like a video game would. Mando levels up after every boss behind a laser door is defeated and acquires new weapons. He gets a shield off one of them, which is redundant because they're already protected by shields. I mean, how worthless is this guy? Steve, we're going to put you behind the shield. On second thought, you're going to need an extra shield, Steve. You're a bit of a pussy. I also enjoy the fact that they conveniently place these guards next to 500-foot holes in the floor so their enemies can toss them down like they're playing a game of human cornhole. Mando is able to do this with the help of R5 hacking into the entire base with his dick thingy that apparently all droids have. I am so tired of watching droids hack entire bases with their dicks, just dry humping the base until the shields open. Can these bases train up some IT specialists, please? This seems to be a huge flaw in Imperial tech. How many times are you going to get hacked by these stupid R2 and R5 droids that have their way with your easily accessible base ports before you realize that this is a problem? Yeah, but maybe that base was just asking for it.
Is this what you want? Huh? Is this where you need it?
Meanwhile, the grossly negligent when it comes to children Mandalorian find a secret garden. Wow. And Axe Wolves finally reaches space without dying. He sends in the Mandalorian dropships for support before manning the capital ship by himself. Apparently, this giant ship only needs one man to operate. All those seats behind him are just for decoration. I'm pretty sure the same people who built Grogu's mech suit built this ship because he steers it with only 2 buttons like it's a gaming chair.
Come on!
TIE fighters fly up and deliver heavy damage to the ship because it was a decoy. I don't know. They didn't really explain that either. There are a lot of tactical blunders in this episode. Also, I didn't think something as small as TIE fighters couldn't destroy something as massive as a capital ship, but that requires way more thought than I want to put into this Mandalorian season. Led by the armorer, the Mandalorians and the drop ships are dropped over their target area. They meet up with Bo-Katan and attack the Imperial base. Stormtroopers jetpack out of the base and they clash in the middle of the sky. So you think to yourself, they're going to clash and hammer it out with each other and it's going to look cool. And it does. It's a fun watch. And you think to yourself, oh yeah, this is when we will see the jetpacks have limited power. So eventually people are just going to start dropping like flies out of the sky. It's going to start raining bodies before we're going to have to take this fight to the floor, ground and pound. But it never does. The jetpacks last as long as the fight does. There's no more rules to this show. Anything that is convenient for the writers to write will happen.
Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
Mando and Grogu find out that Moff Gideon has been cloning himself. Not only that, he's been injecting the clones with the Force like it's some kind of anabolic steroid. Mando, an all-natural kind of guy, blows the tanks and kills them all. No cheating. He runs into Moff Gideon, who is more like Darth Gideon at this point, and Darth here tells him his cartoonish plan before they start shooting each other in the armor for 5 minutes. Gideon tags in the Praetorian Guard to finish off Mando, which begs the question, why didn't you kill Mando when you had the chance, old man? You had him right there in front of the blast doors. Why not just take his helmet off in front of everyone for a humiliation session before cutting off his head? Classic bad guy blunder.
I'm going to leave them alone and not actually witness them dying. I'm just going to assume it all went to plan. What?
But Grogu leads the Praetorian Guards away from Mando, because that's what Imperials do throughout this episode. All just get led astray in one big group, nobody hanging back to finish the job. So now is where we finally get what we all been waiting for. Baby Yoda is going to get laser belt slapped to death by the Praetorians. But no, the little shit lives on because Disney hates us. It's 3 Imperial Guards who can't seem to kill a puppet baby on top of a light fixture. Imperial Guards and shit fight choreography. Name a more iconic duo. Bo comes in and frees up Mando. He goes to rescue Baby Yoda, who magically remembers he has the Force. And they fight the Praetorians together in the other room while Bo and Darth Fring hash things out. Of course, Gideon has a weapon that will go against the Darksaber, which begs another question. Why didn't you whip that bad boy out and start smacking Mando around with it? This is all so dumb. So very, very dumb. Eventually, Gideon gets the best of Bo and crushes the Darksaber through her hand. What the hell? She should have a cripple hand now. It should look like smashed white bread filled with broken toothpicks. And why isn't Gideon just crushing skulls through helmets, hyperextending elbows left and right? Why didn't you rip her still beating heart out through her chest plate and show it to her, dumbass? And then they shot the crushed Darksaber like it was something I should care about. I care about the Darksaber at this point about as much as the writers do, which is not at all. The damn thing looks like a stepped-on dog turd encased in metal. And that's exactly what it is. A dog turd MacGuffin. But finally, 8 episodes deep into the season, Mando is bestowed his hero's moment by his malevolent creators. He swoops in to save Bo-Katan by shooting Darth Gideon in the armor some more.
That was pathetic with the new song. I didn't like that. Don't try that again right after this.
Axe Wolf's big brain plan with the capital ship is to steer it right into the Imperial base. I mean, you wouldn't want to commandeer a fully operational Imperial airbase impervious to detection, now would you? I mean, who would want that? Let's just model Mandalore's defenses like Navarro, with 0 air defense. Anyways, Axe bails out and kamikazes the ship into the base. The fire consumes Darth Gideon, but not Mando or Bo, because Deus Ex Machina wrapped them up nice and tight in a Force condom, saving them from the fire, and Mandalore is reclaimed. Later, Bo-Katan relights the Forge, Mando adopts Grogu, and he's now known as Sir Din Grogu or some shit. Mando and Grogu leave Mandalore to go back to bounty hunting once again, making the show come back full circle. The last shot is Din on his plot of land on Navarro kicking his feet up while Baby Yoda tortures a frog with the Force, a planet where they replaced Gina Carano as the Marshal with a walking, talking diaper pail. And just like that, to much joyous fanfare, the season that ruined The Mandalorian is over. There is much satisfaction in knowing you don't have to worry about crawling into a show hole after this one. In fact, I would argue this show kind of makes you reevaluate watching TV at all. If you strip away the finale's action sequences or apply a little bit of logic to them, and you'll find nothing really worth talking about here. It's an old-fashioned, over-the-pants rush job before Filoni hops onto another show's lap to grind one on. It was the only show that captured the look and feel of what George Lucas originally intended. 2 perfectly good seasons ending on one hell of a climax featuring prime Luke Skywalker. It doesn't get much better than that. But the Kathleen Kennedy rule applies now more than ever. Everything she touches turns to shit. With the first missteps that were the sequel trilogy and Solo, people attributed misfeasance and eventually thought that the Star Wars ship would be course corrected. But after this season of The Mandalorian, it looks more like complete malice and disdain for everything George Lucas ever created. It's like she has some secret axe to grind and has held a grudge that stems back to the days when Kennedy was a secretary for Lucas. The fans have had enough of it and are coming around to the fact that they do not have to accept Disney Star Wars as canon. They still have their favorite stories that they love and cherish. And if The Mandalorian Season 3 ratings are any indication, they're jumping ship as Mando jumps the shark. Ayy. Not much was wrapped up in Season 3. I can bring up the fact that the mythosaur from Episode 2 comes back and almost winks at the camera before saying, "That's all, folks. Thanks for watching." I can point out that there are baby dragons starving somewhere out there in the galaxy, but I have to keep pointing it out that these Mandalorians hate children, so they probably died from starvation. I can show you the endless counts of writing mistakes, pointless dialogue, moments where there is neither narrative nor character development to make room for some very large cameos. But I'm going to take a lazy page out of Star Wars playbook and tell you, I don't wanna. Instead, you can watch all of my reviews of the previous episodes from this season, where I go into great detail on all the mistakes that were made, and you want to trust me, there was a lot of them. I do, however, want to thank Dave Filoni and John Favreau for showcasing the true writing talent of ChatGPT and the quality of storytelling AI can offer us. I'm out of here.